The 9.3 and 9.5 radios are the same, other than a single disc radio standard in the 9.3 and a multi-disc is standard in the 9.5. Turning it on by pressing the big on-off button here. I can then select which band I want, AM, FM, or XM. XM is standard beginning in 2008. I then have a number of presets along here, and you'll notice I can intermix all three bands on one page of presets. I can have up to 6 pages of presets, or favorites, as FAV stands for here. In order to set a preset, I can select the station by using the tuning knob, by using the seek button, and then I can press and hold. And now that preset is saved to page 2, the second slot. I have a menu button up here, which will bring me into other settings. I can determine how many favorite pages I want to display, 1 through 6. So if I select just 6, I now only have 1 pages of favorites I can see at one time. I'll go back and change it back to 6. I also have an auto volume, or a speed compensated volume setting, where I can determine how much the radio volume will increase as the vehicle speed increases. I can also elect whether or not to have some XM categories removed. There's some settings here for RDS, or radio data display, which is an FM only feature. I'm not going to get into that. And then the last thing is to set the clock. This has a dedicated clock setting button on the single disc radio. By pressing it, I can then select what I want to change, and then it's just a matter of turning the tuning knob in order to change the setting. On the multi-disc radio shown here, you access the clock setting via the menu button, and then the procedures are the same. We already talked about menu, favorites, number of presets. This is a European traffic button, which is not functional in the US. I have program type as an option over here. That brings up the categories in XM radio. So I can choose what category music I might want to listen to. I can then select it, and now it will seek the first station in the rock category. I can move up through the category, or I can elect to go into a different category. And hitting the band button will bring you back out of that program type. I have an I, or an information button up here, which will allow me to cycle through the category, the channel, the song, and the artist information, which is especially useful on XM. I have a tone button over here where I can select auto equalizer and choose various preset equalization settings, or I can manually go in and select the bass, mid-range, treble, balance, and fader. Along the bottom, we already talked about the radio button. I have a seek and scan, which in the AM and FM modes will seek the next available station. In XM, it will just move up and down to the next station. I have my volume knob. I have my rewind, or my reverse and forward buttons for CD operation, and then I can also choose to listen to a CD or go into the aux mode, auxiliary mode. When I have a MP3 player plugged in here, I can then cycle through CD and auxiliary. Let's load a CD here and look at some of those features. I can choose to randomize the CD or not, or I can cycle through the tracks using my seek and scan buttons, or I can fast forward or reverse. I can eject the CD, or I can just hit the radio band to go back to my radio mode. On the 6-disc radio, press and release the load button, wait for the radio to tell you to insert the CD, and then load the CD into the radio. The right spoke of the 9.3 steering wheel houses a dedicated volume up and down button, as well as radio preset up and down buttons. These preset buttons also will allow you to select CD tracks when a CD is playing. The up and down arrows on the left spoke of the 9.5 steering wheel move you up and down through the radio presets as well as move you through CD tracks. On the right you have a dedicated volume control as well as a source button. The source button allows you to cycle through the AM, FM, XM, CD, and aux bands if you have an auxiliary device plugged in. You also have a next button. The next button cycles you upwards to the next XM station. In AM or FM, it'll seek the next station up. And if you have a CD playing, it'll move to the next track on that CD.